Dating today is a nightmare. 90% of people have no idea what they want. Everyone's scared of commitment, obsessed with attention, or just using you to feed their ego. It's the same pathetic cycle. Endless talking stages, ghosting for sport, and people who think, what you doing? Is peak conversation. I've seen the worst. But once I figured out how the game really works, everything changed. And once you hear this, dating will never be the same for you again. Hello, fellow warriors. Welcome or welcome back to the Goddess of War. It's time to armor up and see through the BS. So let's get started. The first step to leveling up your dating game is something so many women overlook. But let me tell you, dating is a skill, not luck. And mastering it starts with this one crucial step. You need to treat dating like a skill and develop it. And the sooner you do, the sooner you'll see real results. A lot of women wait passively, expecting some prince on a white horse to magically show up. But let's be real, that's not how things work anymore. Dating is just like anything else in life. If you don't practice it, you'll never get good at it. If you never push yourself out of your comfort zone, if you don't go on dates with different kinds of people, how the hell will you ever know what you actually want? How will you stop putting random guys on a pedestal? Because here's the truth. We tend to romanticize things we haven't experienced enough. When something rarely happens, we blow it out of proportion in our heads. And that's exactly why so many women think the first guy who gives them butterflies is the one. Spoiler alert, he's probably not. When you're new to dating, you miss red flags. You don't see the emotional unavailability, the lack of effort, or the subtle signs of disinterest. Instead, you overanalyze every text and every little action. But the more you date, the more you train your eye. You start recognizing patterns. You learn what's real and what's just empty words. So, what's the move? Get out there, date, explore. See what you like and what you don't. That's the only way to stop wasting time on the wrong people and actually find what works for you. But after realizing that you need to get out there and explore your options, there's one big question left. How? I already know what some of my fellow warriors are thinking.
Okay, but where do I even meet people? I work all day, I don't go out much, and there's literally no one in my circle who interests me.
Look, I hear you, but let's be real. If you don't change something, nothing changes. Sitting around waiting for the perfect guy to magically appear in your life is not a strategy. It's an excuse. So the second step is to actively create opportunities to meet new people. We live in a world where you can literally order food, clothes, or a damn car to your doorstep with a few clicks. And you're telling me you can't meet new people? Come on. If your social life is limited, then put yourself in situations where you're exposed to new people. That means saying yes to more invites, attending events, joining clubs or classes, accepting a new follower on Instagram, and, even if you hate to admit it, using dating apps strategically. And before you roll your eyes at dating apps, yes, I know they can be exhausting, but guess what? They're also the fastest way to meet people outside your usual bubble, especially if you complain about not having enough free time to do the rest of the things. You don't have to marry the guy. You just need to meet him, practice, and see what's out there. Enough with all the taboos around online dating. We're in 2025, people. It's time to stop pretending that meeting someone online is somehow less real than meeting someone in person. Listen up. The guy you meet at a bar or a friend's party can be just as much of a douche as the guy you meet on an app. The only difference is that in person, you get to see right away if there's a vibe. Remember, apps are just a snapshot of the outside world. There's no magic to it. It's just another tool to meet people. And let me tell you something personal. I met my man on Tinder. Yep, the same place a lot of people love to trash talk. And guess what? We've been together for 3 years. He's the best person I've ever met. The apps didn't stop that from happening. They were just a way to find each other. The next step I'm about to share with you is perhaps the most disregarded step of them all. And yet, if you apply the first 2 steps I mentioned, this will start to happen naturally. That step is to stop being impressed by the bare minimum. When you're going on more dates and meeting different kinds of people, you won't be impressed by someone doing the bare minimum for themselves or for you. The fact that someone pays for the first date won't have you drooling. I'm not saying not to be appreciative. You know that's not my style. But let the appreciation match the gesture. Some women out there get way too excited over a free meal, a good morning text, or because their date made sure they got home safely. But let's be real, that's expected. It's basic manners, not something special. And can I just be super frank here for one moment? We are girls, right? When your standards become high enough, you're not going to be flattered and impressed by a guy who wants to do you. You'll be way more interested in what he wants to do for you. It's cute to feel wanted, but that's not an achievement. While some men have very high standards, many would still do the lady under the bridge, missing 3/4 of her teeth, wearing the same outfit for years, as long as no one found out about it. And when I say you should be more interested in what a man wants to do for you, I'm not just talking about material things. Gifts are great, sure, but you'll want a mix of material things and thoughtfulness. Someone who's actively looking for ways to make your life better and help you out. You'll stop paying attention to things that say, I'm thinking about you and I'm interested in you beyond just what I can get from you. Of course, I'm not talking about generic stuff like flowers and jewelry, though those are always appreciated, but I'm talking about things that are specific to you. Things that almost wouldn't make sense to give to any other girl. Not those copy and paste gifts. You'll be looking for signs that he's really paying attention to what you say. The same concept applies to compliments too. Don't be impressed when someone says, "You're pretty." That exact same compliment could be given to a dozen other girls. Pay attention to the thoughtful compliments, the ones that show he's paying attention to who you are as a person, not just how you look. The last step I'm about to share is something a lot of women struggle with, but once you apply this, everything changes. This step is to create and express your standards. Now, how do you actually do that? And how do you make sure people know your standards? Let's start simple. Your standards should at least match the ones you hold for yourself. That's more than fair. If you work on yourself, take care of yourself, and have your life together, why would you settle for someone who doesn't? That's why I can't stress this enough. Work on yourself. You can't demand things you don't embody. You want a man who's confident, ambitious, and emotionally mature? Cool. But are you those things? You can't expect to pull a 10 when you're acting like a 4. Once you've got your basics down, you need to get clear on a few important areas: effort, communication, consistency, values, time, and space. Now, after you've figured out what you want in these areas, you need to know how to express it. There are direct and indirect ways to do so. Most people think they prefer direct communication, but in reality, they don't always respond well to it. If you go on a first date and immediately start listing off rules like, I don't tolerate cheating, it just sounds negative and weird. It's like you're assuming the worst before you even know the person. There are 2 times when I do recommend being super direct: when you know someone well and already have a relationship, or when someone crosses a serious boundary. Outside of that, there are indirect, more natural ways to show what you stand for. For example, if past relationships come up in conversation, and I mean naturally, not you forcing it, you can casually mention that you ended things with someone because they didn't show you respect or didn't put in effort. That sends a very clear message. If this guy does the same, he already knows you won't tolerate it. Another thing you can do is ask smart questions instead of making statements. Instead of saying, I expect loyalty, ask, do you think people are naturally monogamous or polyamorous? His answer will tell you everything. You can also share what you like and how you live. Mention places you love going to, talk about your last vacation, and show pictures of the hotel if that's important to you. This shows your lifestyle and what you're used to. If a guy wants to be in your life, he'll take the hint. Another thing is not telling him what to do, but telling him what you love. Instead of saying, take me somewhere nice, say, I love dressing up, or I'm in sweatpants all day because of work, so I love going places where I can wear my cute dresses. This tells him the kind of dates you enjoy without demanding it. It also gives him a chance to show he's actively listening to what you say. And here's a big one. A lot of women miss opportunities to express their standards when guys ask, what's your type? Instead of saying tall guys or guys with muscles, which comes off superficial, immature, and like you have low standards. Use it to communicate what actually matters. Say something like, my type, men who are loyal and take care of me. Or, I like men who go after what they want and are happy within themselves. This doesn't mean you can't have preferences, but preferences should be the cherry on top, not the main requirement. Because at the end of the day, muscles don't mean anything if he treats you like trash. So that's exactly how you can have a healthy dating life. But there's something I didn't tell you at the start of this video. And honestly, it might be the real reason you're not getting the kind of treatment you deserve. Because setting standards is one thing, but actually raising them and making sure you attract the kind of men who meet them, that's a whole different game. Click on my previous video to learn all you need in order to attract the right men. It's time to unleash your inner confident goddess. See you there, warrior.